Imagine a kid, right? Bullied constantly, and his escape isn't like hang out with friends, but this glowing computer screen. Diving into code, science fiction.
Yeah.
That's kind of the starting point for our deep dive today into Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
We've pulled together some really interesting stuff to look at his journey, the inventor, entrepreneur, visionary, huge impact on space, energy, cars.
Definitely.
So our mission basically is to figure out what really shaped him. The key influences, those big turning points on this, pretty extraordinary path.
And for you listening, especially if you want that deep understanding, but, without getting totally lost in the weeds,
Yeah.
we're aiming to pull out the really crucial bits, the surprising details from what we've looked at.
Yeah.
Sort of connect the dots, make it engaging.
All right, let's rewind then. Back to the beginning. June 28th, 1971, Pretoria, South Africa.
Okay.
His dad's an electromechanical engineer, mom's a model, a dietitian. Sounds, comfortable on the surface. But the sources we looked at kind of hint at some early issues.
They do, yeah. I mean, sure, they had resources, but his parents split up when he was pretty young.
Right.
And the info suggests he really felt quite isolated during those years.
Which is interesting, right? How often that outsider feeling fuels this intense internal focus.
Totally. And it seems like that isolation maybe sparked this huge curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
10 years old, gets his first computer, just dives in. Programming.
Yeah. And
by 12, he makes and sells a video game.
Blastar, yes. Simple space game, apparently.
So still, just the initiative,
Yeah.
Not just making it, but selling it at that age.
It's pretty amazing for a kid. And like a really early sign of that entrepreneurial thing he has.
Mm.
And even that game, being space-themed, it's like a little foreshadowing of where his head would go later.
And it wasn't just screens. The sources really emphasized books like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Isaac Asimov.
Ah, the classic.
He was clearly just grabbed by this idea of tech solving huge problems, which, sounds very familiar now, doesn't it? Exactly, yeah. Those sci-fi stories probably shaped his thinking massively. That belief that technology can really tackle the big stuff makes you wonder how those early stories affect what we think is possible,
It's a great point. But it wasn't all like quiet reading and toting. School was apparently really tough for him. Bullied, consistently through childhood. You'd think that might crush someone.
Right. But it seems from what we read, it actually kind of galvanized him, fueled this intense drive to prove himself through success.
Yeah.
It's a pretty powerful example of how, tough times, if you've got that resilience, can actually become this huge motivator.
Okay, so fast forward a bit. He's 17, makes a massive decision, leaves South Africa, heads to North America for, better opportunities. The U.S. specifically.
All right, a big move.
Spends 2 years at Queen's University in Canada first, then transfers to the University of Pennsylvania, gets degrees in economics and physics.
Which is an interesting combo, isn't it, for a future tech guy?
It really is.
It kind of speaks to this broad foundation. Physics gives you that fundamental first principles problem-solving approach.
Right.
And economics, that gives you the markets, the capital flow, incentives, both pretty crucial if you're going to build big companies.
And it's at Penn, right, that the real entrepreneurial thing kicks off with Zip2. Online maps, business directories for newspapers, co-founded it.
Yeah, Zip2. Very early days for that kind of stuff, way ahead of the curve, thinking about businesses needed to be online.
Definitely pre-Google Maps era stuff.
Oh, yeah. Recognizing that shift to online info.
Yeah.
Even then, he was spotting these tech trends.
And bam, it works. Compaq buys Zip2 for nearly $300 million.
Huge first win.
His first massive financial success. And he's still, in his early 20s? Most people would just stop there, maybe.
Right. Buy an eyelid.
Yeah.
But not him. It really shows that for Musk, the money seems more like fuel, a tool, not the end goal itself.
Exactly, because he jumps straight into the next thing, X.com.
X.com, aiming to completely change online money transfers, which back then was seen as super risky. People were still pretty wary of buying stuff online, let alone sending money.
Risky feels like putting it mildly.
Mm-hmm.
But X.com merges with Confinity, right? Peter Thiel, Max Lufkin's company.
That's the one. And that merger in 2000 creates PayPal.
Ah, PayPal. And under his leadership, it just takes off. Made online payments so much easier, became like fundamental to the early web.
It really did. It solved this huge problem of trust and efficiency online. And its growth showed he could not just spot a need, but build something that actually worked, that people used.
Then, 2002, eBay swoops in, buys PayPal for, what was it, a staggering $1.5 billion in stock.
Yeah, massive deal. Makes him a multimillionaire. Again.
But like you said, not the finish line, more like loading up the rocket fuel for the really big dreams.
Exactly, because that PayPal cash, that's what lets him chase this long-held ambition, which leads directly to founding SpaceX in 2002.
Right. SpaceX, the goal,
Mm-hmm.
slash the cost of space travel and, eventually get humans to Mars.
Which at the time was just, wow.
Yeah.
Space was governments. NASA, Roscosmos, private companies doing that. Almost laughable to many.
The skepticism must have been off the chart.
Oh, totally.
Mm-hmm.
The thinking was you need massive government budgets, decades of know-how. He was basically saying, no, we could do this differently, cheaper, better, challenging the whole system.
And those first few years, rough. The first 3 Falcon 1 launches failed.
Yeah, disastrous. Imagine the pressure. Running out of money, people saying, I told you so. Most would quit.
Seriously.
Those failures were like the ultimate tests of his belief in the idea.
Yeah.
So when Falcon 1 finally did launch successfully in 2008, it was monumental. Proof that a private company could reach orbit. A total game changer for space exploration.
Absolutely. And the milestones just kept coming after that. First private company to send a spacecraft, the Dragon, to the ISS in 2012.
Yep, docking with the space station.
And then the really big one, maybe, landing the Falcon 9 first stage in 2015. That reusability thing, that's key, right, for the costs.
Oh, absolutely central. Reusability is the holy grail for making space travel affordable. Landing that booster upright. A massive engineering feat that just changed the economics entirely.
But the end game, as the sources make really clear, is Mars.
Always
making life multiplanetary, establishing a self-sustaining base there as like a backup drive for humanity.
That's exactly how he frames it. An existential necessity. His focus now, with Starship especially, it's all about building the transport system to get tons of people and cargo there to actually build a city.
It still sounds like science fiction, but he's just relentlessly pushing towards it.
And his vision isn't just Mars. It's, humans expanding throughout the solar system eventually.
Okay, so while that's happening, back on Earth, 2004, he gets involved with Tesla Motors.
Right. Initially as an investor, chairman.
But then steps in as CEO, product architect, during some really shaky financial times for them.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, electric cars, they were mostly seen as weird little niche things.
Yeah.
Impractical, pricey, definitely not cool.
Yeah, totally compromised. That was the perception. Limited range, kind of dorky looking, slow. Just not something most people wanted. Musk getting involved was a clear sign he wanted to blow that perception up.
And the first big challenge was just building an electric car that could actually compete with gas cars, which led to the Tesla Roadster in 2008.
The Roadster, yeah. Expensive, sure, but it had over 200 miles of range, used lithium-ion batteries. It looked cool. It definitely made people rethink what an EV could be.
It was a proof point.
Exactly. Showed they could be powerful, have decent range, appealed to people who cared about performance and tech. Even as a limited run, it shifted the whole conversation.
But just like SpaceX, Tesla had its near-death moments too, right? Sources talk about massive financial problems, almost going bankrupt.
Oh, yeah. Production hell, financial crises. Musk apparently pouring his own money in, sleeping on the factory floor. That level of commitment is intense.
Almost unbelievable.
The pressure was immense. But his focus, his investment, both personal and financial, kept it afloat during those really tough early years.
And then came the cars that really changed everything. The Model S sedan in 2012.
Game changer.
Just redefined luxury cars. Insane performance, safety, design, and all electric.
Yeah.
Then the Model X SUV, and then the big one, the Model 3.
The Model 3, mass market success, became the best-selling EV globally, really.
It feels like Tesla just completely rewrote the rules for the whole car industry.
It did. The Model S proved EVs could be desirable, aspirational, not just sensible. The Model 3 brought that to way more people. It massively accelerated the whole shift to electric.
And it's bigger than just the cars, isn't it? Tesla's vision is this whole sustainable energy thing. Solar City, which he co-founded, solar panels, solar roofs.
Right, the generation side.
And then the battery tech. Big batteries for homes, for the grid, crucial for making renewables work reliably. It all kind of fits together.
It's meant to be an ecosystem. Generate clean energy with solar, store it efficiently with batteries, use it cleanly with EVs. Tesla's work in solar and batteries is just as key to that big picture as the cars are. Trying to get us off fossil fuels.
Okay, shifting gears, or maybe going underground. 2016, he starts the Boring Company, apparently out of pure frustration with LA traffic.
Yeah, who can blame him? LA traffic is legendary.
The idea, underground tunnels, high-speed transport, no congestion, sounded pretty wild.
Totally. His solution wasn't just build more roads, it was go 3D, build this network of tunnels underneath cities. A very different approach.
The vision is like electric pods or cars on skates whizzing through at maybe 150 miles an hour.
Something like that, yeah.
The first project, the Loop in LA.
Yeah.
It's hit challenges, right? Permits, skepticism, just the difficulty of digging tunnels.
For sure. Big infrastructure projects are always complex. Lots of red tape, engineering hurdles. They're trying to innovate the actual tunnel boring machines to make it way cheaper and faster. That's key.
And we have to mention the fundraising thing in 2018. The flamethrower.
Oh, yes. The not a flamethrower definitely got people talking. A very Muskian way to raise some cash and buzz.
Definitely unconventional. Then there's Neuralink. Also started around 2016. This one's about brain-machine interfaces, BMIs.
Yeah, Neuralink. Pretty mind-bending stuff.
The initial idea, or the stated goal, is treating neurological problems. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, spinal cord injuries.
Right. That's the therapeutic angle, using this tech to help people with really debilitating conditions. But the longer-term potential, enhancing human intelligence, merging with AI, that's where it gets really profound and maybe a bit scary for some.
Yeah, it raises huge questions. He's talked about AI risk and this being a way to keep up, potentially.
It's operating right at the edge of neuroscience and computing. We saw that prototype device in 2020, then the demo with the pig in 2021, showing they could read brain signals wirelessly.
Gertrude the pig.
That's the one. It feels like we're right on the cusp of something major there, but the full implications still very much unfolding.
The progress is undeniable, though. Reading and transmitting brain activity, huge potential for medicine, but definitely need to think carefully as it develops.
Absolutely. Ethical considerations are massive.
So when you kind of zoom out and look at all these companies, SpaceX, Tesla, Boring, Neuralink, what's the common thread? What's the big vision tying it all together?
It really seems to boil down to using radical tech innovation to ensure humanity's long-term survival and progress.
Okay.
So that means a sustainable energy future, ending fossil fuel dependence, that's Tesla, Solar City, becoming multiplanetary, a backup plan for humanity, that's SpaceX, faster, better transport on Earth, Boring Company, and maybe enhancing ourselves to navigate the future with AI, that's Neuralink.
It's incredibly ambitious, but hasn't exactly been a smooth ride, has it? The sources are full of the skepticism, the demanding leadership style.
Oh, yeah.
Relentless.
Tesla nearly going bust multiple
Yes.
times. The public scrutiny, especially around his tweets, SEC investigations. Definitely. He seems to operate under immense pressure and constant challenges. His leadership gets results, clearly, but it's also controversial. The controversies, the near failures, it all highlights the risks of aiming so high.
But what also comes through again and again is just this incredible resilience, determination, and a willingness to take absolutely massive risks.
Absolutely. That ability to twitch through failures, keep the long-term goal in sight, even when everything's chaotic, make huge bets.
Yeah.
That's definitely a defining trait.
So how do we even start to think about his legacy right now? He's polarizing, for sure.
Yeah.
But undeniably influential.
Yeah, polarizing is probably fair, but his impact is already huge. He's fundamentally reshaped cars, space, energy. He's shown that these audacious, almost sci-fi goals can be tackled.
He's inspired a lot of people to think bigger, maybe.
For sure. Inspired entrepreneurs, engineers, challenged the status quo across the board. His legacy is still being written, obviously, but he's already a key figure in these massive shifts happening in energy and space.
He really has proved that these incredibly bold ideas, however crazy they might seem at first, can actually become reality. There's something inspiring in that, regardless of what you think of him personally.
It's a powerful reminder of what human ingenuity, coupled with, relentless drive and maybe a touch of obsession, can achieve. He's pushed boundaries and shown that these huge, ambitious dreams are worth chasing.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, we've seen these threads connecting everything, haven't we? This drive to solve big problems, push technology forward, SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink. They seem different, but maybe they're all part of that same core mission.
Definitely interconnected. And we saw how those early experiences, even the tough stuff like the bullying or isolation, might have played a role in shaping that drive later on.
What really stands out, I think, is just the sheer scale and, frankly, audacity of it all across so many different critical fields and doing it against so much skepticism, so many hurdles.
That relentless push to turn vision into reality despite the odds is remarkable.
So thinking about that massive scope, getting us off Earth, maybe merging our brains with computers. What do you, listening, think will be his most significant contribution in the long run? And what are the potential dangers or downsides we need to watch out for with these huge endeavors? Definitely something to chew on.